We are young.
Yo.
We are young. No, we're in our 20s. You just hopped out of there. So don't even. You're less than a month away.
Hi, I'm Dibu.
Hi, I'm Charmaine.
And welcome to
Black Girl Social Work.
Right, so what are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about kind of our journeys to social work, and we're just going to dive into all of that in a little bit. But before we do that, let's do a quick check-in. How are you? How's your week been? And give me a feeling, because I realise a lot of black people, we don't be doing all that feeling stuff. So give me a feeling. How are you feeling?
Tired.
Oh.
Fed up.
Okay.
That's how I feel.
Okay.
It's been a week. It's been a week.
Okay.
I've been driving up and down the country. You know, this week I've been up in Oxford, I've been up in Taunton, and those places are not
England.
close. Yeah, just all over England. And the reason why I'm tired is the young person that I went to visit. I planned this visit a week in advance. The unit knew I was coming. When I arrived, I had to wait an hour, only for them to come back and say, actually, I'm not able to see the young person on that day.
Okay.
Because the young person had lessons and, you know, which I didn't mind not seeing the young person. It was, why keep me here for an hour? Why not communicate with me? And then after that visit, I then had to drive back to the area where I work to do an unannounced visit.
Wow.
Knocked on the door. Nobody answered.
Oh my goodness.
I looked through the window. Somebody sat there watching TV. Heck, they were even changing the channel. So I knew there was definitely somebody
So they're
there.
ignoring you.
And yeah, they could definitely hear me. I looked up. Someone opened the window upstairs.
No.
And then when I looked up and saw them, they closed the window. And then I could see another TV on upstairs. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I just got in the car and then got home. And by the time I got home, it was 7 p.m. So yeah, that was just one day out of my week.
7 p.m.
Yeah, I was tired.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, when they say social work is not a 9-to-5 job, this is what
really
they mean.
not. It's really not.
Because you will be doing clickety clack clack and running up and down the country.
Literally.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I shouldn't be surprised because I've had 2 a.m. clickety clack clack doing court work. So
Court work. That's court work is a whole different. Oh
boy.
yeah.
Oh god. But yeah.
How are you?
Man, I'm okay. I'm feeling a bit restless. My feeling is restlessness because I handed in my notice, as you know, but you guys don't know yet.
We thank God.
But I handed in my notice. I'm tired, man. I'm tired. I'm restless. I just want to be done, and just take a break. Because I'm
to
exhausted.
be honest, you've been in this place for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, this is the only place that you've ever worked within your social work career.
Yeah.
And to be honest, having also worked in this place, I have no idea how the heck you lasted this long. I have no idea how. I lasted a year, and that year was a struggle.
I don't know, and like, I don't even know what it was, but the only thing I'm so glad, like, obviously I'm very big on waiting and seeing that things kind of happening at the right time, and that's one of the good things I'm kind of trying to take away from it, the relationships and the friendships I've built with yourself and with our other colleagues and things like that. So it's just like, okay, I may be traumatized, I might not recover, but I've got a friend. You know.
True. Literally, I always think about that place. The blessing of this workplace was truly meeting you and meeting our 2 other colleagues that we became really good friends with, and just to be honest, a lot of the people that we worked with
were amazing,
were really great, really supportive.
Yeah.
The workplace was not.
No. Our colleagues on the field, 10 out of 10.
And our manager.
And our manager, but that's it.
Yeah.
The manager that was there when you were there.
Yeah.
Because I've had 10. So I can't say that. I can't say that for sure. Yeah. But hey ho. feeling tired, restless, but I'm just kind of ready to take a bit of a break, stop this for a hot second. But how I'm feeling kind of nervous as well, because like you said, it's me ending this kind of chapter that I've only been at this same place, and it's kind of difficult.
Yeah,
because it's not. I was so scared. Remember when I was handing in my resignation?
Yeah,
I called this girl. I said, "I'm scared. I'm crying on the phone."
What you scared about? Handed the notice.
I'm crying on the phone. I didn't have a breakdown. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm really doing it. I'm really doing it." But when I done it, I knew it was the right decision.
It is, because I think the issue with you is, despite, I suppose, the challenges that you face in this workplace, you were so comfortable there.
Yeah.
And it was very familiar. And sometimes I think when we...
And my kid is too, I didn't want to leave that.
Yeah, there's that. But you was very familiar and comfortable. You became part of the fabric of that building.
Girl, not too much.
You was there for a long time.
Not too much a part of the fabric.
You was. Because think about it. Look at the anxieties that you had around handing in your notice.
Yeah.
You know, and... It's just, it was a lot for you.
It was.
But props to you for doing it, because sometimes all it takes is for us to take that step to really experience the change that we want to see.
Yeah.
And let's be real, the change that you want to see, you was not going to see in that place. You was never going to see in that place. So it took a lot of courage.
It did.
For you to do that. Because you reflected on it a lot for a long period of time. It wasn't.
I probably thought about it for like a year before I did it. Literally, since you got the... Girl.
I'm a bad apple. I was just like, get out of here.
But again, like, so many things were happening anyway, kind of like within the workplace and within...
There was a lot of changes.
Everything, that it just kind of took a while, but I knew that this is the right time for me to kind of hand in. But boy, that 3 months notice, really...
It's a long time.
Got me on a hooker. Like,
they didn't want you to leave.
No, they don't want me to leave.
Understandably so, because you're a bloody brilliant social worker.
I am. I'm good at what I do. I'm not gonna lie. I'm good at what I do, and to be in the position that I'm at, so quickly. Every single year, I've got a promotion, quote unquote promotion, out of my own back. First of all, that's what I had to. I'll tell you later. But. I've got a promotion every single year out of my own back. Yeah, I've gone out, and with the support of my previous manager, that is no longer there. But with the support of her, we really did that because boy,
she really pushed us to actually be the best that we could.
Because I was like, I'm done. I've had enough. But
you was done, but you was also comfortable.
That true. Let's keep it buck 99. You know. It's the truth. And actually, I think complacency and staying in the same place for too long, that can stunt your growth. And that's what 100%. I felt like was going to happen.
You was not growing in that place.
No.
It was not what was going to happen. It was already happening. But you didn't see because you were comfortable.
True.
And because I feel like...
I felt like I felt it, and I can... Because I can keep my distance from things in terms of... I'm like, okay, whatever. And kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
But ignoring it doesn't change the fact that it's still toxic.
Very toxic.
Ignoring it doesn't change the fact that... oh, this might not be too good for me. Ignoring it doesn't change the fact that I am unsettled.
You was losing sleep. She's had nightmares about some of the families that she's worked with.
Baby, I didn't sleep for 6 months. Do you know how bad that is?
Yeah, that family that was a lot. That was a lot. And you was forced to do weekend visits. So that workplace was not healthy. It was not good for you. And honestly, I am so proud of you for handing in your notice, because ever since she's handed in that notice, she has not stopped laughing, giggling. I am happy off the walls.
I am happy because I feel free, and I feel like a lot of this kind of social work thing, or not even social work, I felt like that place kind of stunted who I was. And for me, like, that was my first ever job, like out in the real world type of thing. Before that, babe, I've had one other job, and it was like a hospitality job. I didn't do nothing else. I'm young, and it's like, that's another thing that we'll talk about in another episode, I think, that we need to, about kind of our age. We are young.
You're young.
We are young. No, we're in our 20s. You just hopped out of there, so don't even. You're less than a month away, so don't even. But we're very young women, and actually that plays a role in your development and who you are as a person and things like that. And boy, we can do a whole...
That's a never mind episode. That's a whole series if we were to really break it down.
That's true. But yeah, let's
wind it back.
Let's get into what we're talking about today. Yes. Social work. Why? Given everything we just talked about.
But I didn't know everything that we've just spoken about before. So originally, my background's in law, so I did an undergrad in law.
Okay. Didn't
like the environment in law. Ran away from law. My best friend at the time, actually, not at the time, she's still one of my best friends. My best friend she also did law. And then she decided that she didn't want to do law anymore either and started doing social work. She spoke to me about social work. And so she...
Oh, so she's doing social work right now as well?
She is a social worker.
Oh, girl.
She's a social work manager.
Okay.
In the adoption team.
Sis.
She's amazing. So she's going to be coming on the podcast eventually as well. So she told me about social work because I didn't really know much about social work at the time. And then what did I do? And then at the time when she was telling me about it, I was actually volunteering within a law firm. And the area that I liked was going to court with the families to support the families and helping them understand what the judges were saying, pretty much in layman's term. And having those conversations afterwards, being, I suppose, some form of emotional support for the families, because a lot of the things that we deal with are really challenging and very heavy. So I guess I've seen it from both sides. I've seen it from the social work side. I've also seen it from the legal side of stuff. And I really enjoyed that. So I decided, I dared myself.
Dared?
I dared myself because, first of all, I only applied to one university for my master's. And that university, I had only been in that town once before officially moving there. And that was for the interview.
My goodness.
Before officially moving there.
That's a risk.
Do the social work degree. Yeah, it was a risk.
Do you think that risk paid off all these years later?
I think it definitely paid off because actually studying social work changed my life, changed my outlook on life. It changed my approach. I do a lot of critical thinking now. I'm really forever that's been drummed into my mind.
That's a buzzword in social work. That's why, okay.
It's such a buzzword. It's been really important. It is so important. It showed me how to be more empathetic, how to be much more understanding, because I think a lot of the times we hear about people in certain situations, for example, substance misuse, domestic violence, sexual assault. Sometimes I don't think we're always understanding or empathetic of that. I think we have our own biases, and I think it really made me reflect on what my own personal biases were studying social work. So
that's interesting. And now you're here, but that sounds like a really kind of interesting journey. And like you said, the background that you have, it gives you that, not foresight, but the ability to see both sides, like you said, and support them better, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think, because my thing is as well, when working with families, we work together as a team. It's not me coming in and speaking to you. It's really social work forces you to be very human. You can't be standoffish in social work. You can't be dismissive of certain things in social work because you're forced to deal with it, because that's the issues this is the realities of the families that we're working with, right? So I suppose my journey's really been, how can I adapt my social work practice in order to really connect with some of the families as well, and support them to the best of my abilities. My journey's just been ridiculously long.
So what exactly is that? Because you said my journey's been ridiculously long. So we'll talk also a bit later on about other people's different journeys, which will kind of be touched upon anyway. But you said, you kind of mentioned briefly about your master's. So what did you do before? You said you'd done your law degree. Was that a BA? What happened?
Yeah, so I did LLB law.
Okay.
And then took a year out of university because I didn't know whether or not I wanted to go on and do my LPC, which is a training that you need to do in order to become a solicitor. So that's when I volunteered within the law firm and that got that legal exposure, I suppose. And it was, interestingly enough, within a family law firm that I did that. And it was really insightful. And then obviously went in to do my master's, and the journey to my master's was a lot, because I think that was also the most difficult time of my life personally. So dealing with my master's, the demands of doing the master's, the deadlines, and a completely new course that I wasn't really familiar with, and then the challenges within my personal life, it is truly through the grace of God that I got through it. I still remember there was a day where I called my mom and I was like, I can't do this anymore, I want to quit. And imagine saying that to an African mother who's been very on university education. So, but I suppose for me, like that time, like I said, really reflective, really changed my outlook on life. We obviously do the placements as well, so I think for me, the advice that I was given was don't do placement in an area where you want to specialize in. So obviously we work within children. I did my placement within adults mental health, and then my second placement was within an asylum team, which worked with families with no recourse to public funds and really supported them. And then I've since moved around. I've worked within a looked after and permanency team. I've worked within a court team, and then I've also worked within just kind of like a frontline child protection team, you know, social worker, advanced practitioner, senior social worker, and that's kind of where I wanted to stop. I have no interest in becoming a social work manager, but I am open to kind of like exploring other avenues within social work. And I guess within the past few years, I've taken on guest lecturing and leading skills days at universities as well, which is something I really enjoy, because I feel like I'm able to kind of like give back, or like kind of like inform students about the realities of social work, so that they're ready for, in some ways, ready for what they're actually going to face, rather than just theories and this, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my journey. It's
what
a bit
interesting
long.
journey. But I think it's important for people to kind of get the scope of what it kind of looks like behind the scenes, because lots of people have different journeys and different ways of entering social work, so it's helpful to know that actually you can kind of pivot, like you said, you pivoted from law into something else, into social work, and that's kind of how you got here. But it's okay to have those different journeys, and they've kind of led you to this place, which is amazing.
It's definitely okay. I think it's completely unrealistic to expect someone to stay in a career that they made the decision on when they were 17, 18 and didn't really know much about the world.
And also everyone's journeys are different.
Completely different.
We're
faced with so many different challenges along the way. Like, the journey of life is not smooth sailing.
No.
You know, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. That didn't happen. I went into social work. Will I be a social worker for the rest of my life? No. Absolutely
That's
not.
just the truth, though.
That's the truth, but that's just because I feel as if for me, my time in social work is coming to an end. I feel like my journey has not been an easy one in regards to my experiences with different local authorities, in regards to the families that I have worked with, in regards to the challenges that I have faced. It's been really, really difficult, emotionally draining, and traumatic. I feel like we say that, we're going to be saying that word a lot. Yeah. Like, we're going to just... But it is what it is.
It is.
Like, I can't lie, it's honestly been quite traumatic in many ways, but I'm so incredibly thankful for this journey. It's been a true blessing in many ways. But yeah, how about you? How's your journey to social work been?
Oh boy. So my journey, so I'm one of those that made the decision straight out of school. But yeah, so I was in between, actually, between social work and teaching. Okay. So prior to that, I went to Ghana for a month and I was teaching at an orphanage, and I loved it. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do for the rest of my life. I literally genuinely felt so at peace. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And then I came back to England and I thought, this is not making sense. I'm not going to teach in this country. That's my most genuine opinion. I'm going to say that because I've told people anyway. Even at uni, do you know my interview? I said that. I'm very honest. You will find that out. But I've told everybody.
Why is that? Why won't you teach in this country? What's the issue?
No.
Okay.
No. First of all, the pay. Terrible.
Yeah, that's true.
Second of all, the kids. They're unruly. They are. They don't respect teachers and they don't respect education.
True.
So not exactly unruly. That's a bit of an exaggeration. But in the sense of children don't respect education, they don't see the importance of it. Some children might.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like England has a lot of structural things that affect a teacher's ability to teach
100%
per se, and that is so sad.
Yeah.
And I could see that from such a young age.
Teachers don't get the recognition and the support and the respect that they deserve.
And I loved my teachers.
Yeah.
And I was like one of the few in the class that actually wanted to be at school, wanted to learn and have fun. I spent a lot of my time in school just chatting, but I was still doing the work. I love to talk. That was one of my key skills to be a social worker. I love people. I love to kind of just do that kind of thing. But yeah, that's what I was in between initially. But I think I've still got that teacher thing in me, which is why I'm kind of like trying to join my skills, which is why I thought actually social work is going to be the best for me. I could teach in a way, as in like supporting people, doing direct work, blah, 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 blah. And hopefully, obviously, as my career kind of progresses, this was my thought process back then, as my career progresses, I can teach in a way, but teach others in social work per se. And then so I decided to do that, decided to do social work, went straight in. I done a BA in social work for 3 years, 2 placements, 70 day, then 100 day. First one was in an adults local authority. Loved my clients, hated the place. It felt so depressing. I was literally counting down the days. Like, okay, 69 more days. 68
and
more
this
days,
was back in the day when you had
days.
to be in the office every single day, right?
Every day.
Pre-COVID, because I think COVID changed the game. COVID allowed us
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But adults is very different to children's. And I was like, yeah, 100%. Thank goodness I've done this, because I know I'm never going to do it.
Yeah, you just didn't click with adults.
I loved working with the adults. It was just boring.
Okay.
It was boring, and like the local authority I was in, it was very kind of micromanaging.
Right.
I had a manager, the manager that was covering me for that placement, she said to me, "You're very articulate. I'm surprised." I called my mama. Mom, listen what this lady said to me. What am I supposed to do? Because what do you mean I'm articulate? Do you think I'm stupid? What are you trying to say? You're racist? That's what she said to me.
That's actually disgusting, but unfortunately there's also a lot of racism in social work, and sometimes it comes from fellow people of colour, which is really unfortunate. But
it was honestly such a shock to me that, first of all, a manager can say that to you. Second of all, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
What are you actually trying to say? Because I literally said to her, yeah, of course I am.
Yeah. How else are you supposed to answer that?
What do you think?
No, you're right.
It is such a shock and a surprise that I'm articulate and I can speak. What are you trying to say?
Wow.
Yeah, but that was my experience.
And you still wanted to be a social worker after that?
Yeah, I did. So. Imagine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my experience in an adults team, and that's what I meant about the clients that I was working with. Fine, great. I had a really good practice educator as well, so that's what kind of helped me, honestly. My practice educator, boy, I don't think I would have survived without her.
I feel the thing is,
amazing.
Practice educators can make or break your placement in regards to the support that they can provide you. I was really, really lucky with mine, honestly. Certainly with my second placement in the asylum team, my practice educator was incredible.
Wow.
I cannot speak any higher of that man. He really has left an impact in my life, and I will never ever forget.
That's beautiful. Him. And it's like we said, it's those people that you kind of meet along the journey that will kind of help us and make our journeys really and truly. For sure. But that was my first placement within an adults team. Not so great. Then my second placement was in a school. There was no social workers.
You was the only. So was this at the point where, because
my 100-day placement,
your 100-day placement, but is this at the point whereby they had recently started to introduce social workers into school settings?
No. That was 2018.
Oh, but
2019. I don't know. Do you know what it is? I think there was social workers within schools, but it wasn't there.
Okay.
So I think maybe the schools had connections with social workers or something like that, or I don't know. But I think now I'm actually seeing roles in social worker schools. But back then, because I thought, oh my God, because I had a great experience. Well, again, questionable experience. My experience, obviously, because there was no social workers there, that's why I had to, again, lean on my practice educator. Because I said very early on, and again, I think part of this as well is to do with myself and who I am as a person. I'm very proactive. I'm very much somebody that, if I'm going to do something, it needs to be done right, type of thing. And I just said to her, do you know what? I'm in a school. This is what I'm thinking and planning to do. But I literally created my whole 90 days. I planned what I was going to do every week. I set up like direct work sessions, group sessions. I had like mentoring. I was mentoring kids.
Oh God.
So
who was mentoring you?
My practice educator. The manager was the head teacher. You think the head teacher has time? I didn't have no support. But that's what I mean. That started from placement. And then obviously my experience then getting into work.
Yeah.
Like, I've suffered. I have suffered with the lack of support.
Yeah.
And that is so sad that I've kind of always had to go through with it and just kind of had to carry on.
You've had to survive.
Yeah. I've had to survive. I'm here, alive.
Surviving social
Surviving. Do you know what? Should make a documentary. From podcast to documentary.
Yeah, surviving social, literally. Because
that was hard.
It is hard. I think when you're just starting out as well, you're not confident in the profession yet. You're still learning your way around. You're still learning the law, trying to put the law actually in practice.
Yeah. And then I had a disclosure as well. A really serious disclosure about sexual abuse.
Wow.
In my 100-day placement.
How do you manage that though? In a setting whereby you've already mentioned that you don't really have a lot of support. So how did you manage that? How did you know the right approach to take when supporting? I'm assuming it was a young person that came to you that made a disclosure. How did you know what to do, or did you know what to do?
Yeah, so within the kind of place that I was at, there was the Senko and things around. So I had built a very good relationship with the Senko team, and because they're the safeguarding team, so I was hopping in on child in need meetings and things like that. So at least I got to see when social workers came in. But it's not the same having a social worker present day to day. But kind of dealing with that disclosure and dealing with that situation was really difficult for me. It was hard because I was thinking, oh my God, I've never heard this before. You know, and it was something that is so sad, and that disclosure, honestly, I'll never forget it, because for me, it was the first experience where I've heard a young person say that, and it was leaning onto the Senko and the team that I had around me, and that was just that person. And then obviously I told my practice educator after, because I was like, oh, this is what's happened, this is what we've done, blah, 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 blah. The school had their own kind of safeguarding things in place, which is what I then just followed. But again, it's very different to social work thing, because I would then be doing something about it. Whereas in that position, in placement, I couldn't technically do anything about it. It wasn't my remit, it wasn't my role. I didn't have any legal authority to do that.
It wasn't your responsibility.
No. Which is why, like I said, it was so pertinent that I had that team and that support with the Senko. It was only one lady, but she was amazing. It was an amazing lady, and honestly, we had a really good relationship because we spent every single morning and every single day together. But she wasn't a social worker. That's where I, again, just kind of took to my own learning, was learning different things about social work, was reading books, listening to podcasts, and building that. Whilst you're doing it, you're doing your portfolio, you're doing all of this, you're doing all of that, you're doing all that. And then your essays and your uni work, it's a lot to kind of juggle.
It's overwhelming.
But that was really kind of my journey. Then following that, finished uni in the June, and then started working in the September. Pretty straightforward for me. But again, my experience, because I always tell people, like, when I speak about my experience and things, I'm like, that's not always the way it's going to be, because I know my colleagues and things that I worked in uni, they had very, very different experiences. But I literally went for the first job that I wanted.
For the first job?
Yeah. I did apply. I literally, that's the only one I applied for.
But sometimes it be like that.
Because again, remember I said, for me anyway, I kind of work in the way that I don't like to kind of waste my time and do all of that. So if for me it didn't feel right, I'm not going to bother applying because it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
But that felt right to me because on paper, the local authority that I then went to work for sounded like it was very child focused and very child friendly, and I loved that. And that's that. I think that's the same thing. I still kind of believe that to that day. The on paper they're child focused. The reality.
I'm not gonna make a comment.
On paper. On paper though.
On paper, yes.
Because
I think what I've realized within kind of like all the different local authorities that I've worked in, and as time has gone on, the longer that I've been a social worker, I've realized there's constantly new pressures on local authorities. There's cuts within local authorities, which means actually we are stepping so far away from being child focused as we as practitioners want to be. That's true. It's more so social work for local authorities. For me, the way that I'm seeing it, especially where I am right now, it's almost been run as if it's a business. We're talking about the finances. You can't do this because finance, you know, and that I think is taken over more so, and it's not always child focused. We're not always, in my personal point of view, sometimes I don't think decisions that are made are always in the best interest of the child, which is unfortunate. But that's kind of like the changes that we're seeing in social work right now. I think because the government keeps on making cuts. It's true. Know, the government...
Because all of this stuff is actually political. It's not very...
Very much so.
And that's what we mean. It's not just about doing the job on your day-to-day. It's all these other things that literally you don't realise it affects you, but it affects our clients.
Yeah.
If there's cuts and there's things happening in the world where people can't get to school, people can't feed their children, people can't do the basic human things that you should be entitled to.
Exactly.
It's so unfortunate, but then it affects you. It affects how you do your job. It affects what you can and can't give in terms of support.
But and the support that we are able to provide, I suppose,
becomes limited.
Very limited. I think if you look at child in need level in itself, there's very little we can signpost. But
because even things such as like youth clubs and things doesn't exist anymore.
No, or they're very rare and far in between, you know, so which is a shame.
But that's just obviously our two experiences of getting into it. But there's many different ways of getting into social work. There's the kind of step up program, there's apprenticeships,
masters, undergrad. So there's
different ways to do it. I think again it just depends on your situation and where you're at and what you kind of want to do. There's pros and cons for each one. It just depends what you really want to do. To be honest,
I suppose going off of that, because you did the undergrad, I did the masters. Is social work practice what you was taught?
No.
How so?
No, not at all. I think we're taught all these things on theory and it's so idealistic.
There's a lot of theory in social work teaching.
Yes. You know? Which I think with that foundation, you can't do your job. I think that's important. I think the theory is there and it's important, but you're not taught how to translate that theory in real life. Practice, and into practice. You're not taught that. I guess that's what your placements are there for. But again, as you kind of get into real world and real workplace, you're not going to sit there and think, what is this theory that I'm using with this parent?
You don't. No. You really don't. And I think, as you said, theory is the foundation 100%. That we have. However, when writing assessments, I think for me is the only time that I can actually say, you know, I'm thinking of this theory, you know, because we get to put in what we actually learn at university, like specifically like within parenting assessments, you know, for me is where I find that I'm really able to actually identify a theory and the impacts that it'll have on the young person. or whatever.
But that's I love that part of it where you can kind of translate it, but again, it is very different to, for me anyway, what I learned in uni. What I learned in uni is the theory, like we've talked about. You are given this view that you're going to spend so much time with the children. Yeah, that is the least
you really don't
thing that we do.
You do more social work is more admin.
Yeah, it's literally 10% that you spend with kids.
Which is unfortunate, because I guess it impacts the way that we're able to build relationships with the young people, but at the same time it forces us to think of creative ways of building that relationship quite quickly.
Very true. And even if, okay, probably not 10%, but still, actually it is probably 10%, because if you think about a month, how many times you're actually going out doing you're doing your statutory kind of work and your duties, but then for some children you need to do more with them. Yeah. For some children you need to do less. For some children they're more settled, or you can see them in different places. I've gone and done different things with children, as in like going to the park, going out for food, going out and just doing fun things, been to like play centres and things like that with kids. But that's, again, it depends on each child. It's very different. It's kind of bespoke. But getting that time to do those fun things and that direct work where children's going to trust you and have that relationship is quite limited.
Very limited.
Especially when you've got court deadlines and assessment deadlines and you've got
competing demands as a social worker. It's not necessarily that you have like one day and you're like, oh, today I'm going to see the kids, because the kids also have school.
Yes.
And we're supposed to finish work at 5, which we never do.
Which never happens.
But that's when we're supposed to finish work. So I suppose for me, it's not what we was told at university is definitely not real. In regards to how practice actually looks. I think for me, when I went to university anyway, we did not learn how to write assessments. So a child in need assessment, a child protection assessment, a parenting assessment, a sibling assessment. My master's program was 2 years, and I feel like within those 2 years we focused so much on the theories and on the law rather than actual social work practice, which would benefit us, within our daily practice. Instead, when I started, it was more kind of like you were just pushed into the deep end and you're expected to figure it out by yourself.
True.
Which is risky.
On that, it's very risky. But on that kind of note, would you give any top 3 tips for someone that's kind of starting out or venturing into social work? 3 quick fire tips.
Always ask questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question. You're not expected to know everything. Be kind to yourself. Show yourself grace. You are in a new profession that is really difficult and really challenging. Take breaks. Always take your lunch break.
Yeah. Facts.
Always take your lunch break.
Facts.
Yeah, what about you?
For me, I think the 3 top tips for someone that's kind of venturing into social work: make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. I think most people want to enter this to obviously help people, but you also kind of have to be ready for it as well. So just kind of reflect and decide why you're doing it. The second top tip would be look after yourself. I know you've said it, but I'm going to reiterate that, because I think we put everybody above us because we're in a caring profession, which is very unfortunate, but look after yourself. And the last tip would be don't stop learning and don't think you know everything. So continue learning, continue seeking out new things, and keep up to date with what's like the current affairs, because they're again affecting our families that we work with as well as ourselves in our profession. But that's kind of it in a nutshell, really.
Just to add to that as well about the learning, be willing to learn from your families.
Yes.
They're the experts within their own lives.
100%.
They will know their lives more than you will know their lives. You received a referral and that's why you're involved. They've been living their life.
100%.
So be willing to learn from them as well.
And be respectful, please.
Always, please.
A lot of people are not respectful, and it's so sad because, again, it's about working with people. We're not working as a Victorian figure and you have to do what I say. No. It's not that, because, again, like you said, they're the experts in their lives. They know what's kind of happening. You're coming in a vulnerable position for them. So you've got to have some kind of empathy and treat them as a human being in that sense, but also knowing that actually they're in the position for a reason. How can you support them in that kind of state and situation, and always keep the children at the centre.
Always.
And that's my thing.
Yep.
Always keep the children at the centre.
Remember, best interest of the child.
Always.
Yeah.
For sure. But today's been very interesting, kind of exploring our journeys and things like that, which I found really helpful to kind of know a bit more about what you've kind of gone through and what I've gone through. Hopefully that's good that I shared it.
Yeah.
For sure. But we're gonna have other people that are gonna join, and they can potentially share their journeys as well. But yeah, any other final points to add?
No, I think that's it for me.
Perfect. See you guys.
All right. Bye.
Bye.